guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly, truly is. This is True Crime at Christmas time, and today we're talking Hanukkah. Hanukkah homicide. Okay, let me give you a warning in advance that this story does deal with a few topics of hate and anti Semitism. So please keep that in mind before you decide to keep watching. But if you want to stay, then let's get started, okay? December 28th, 2019 was the seventh night of the Jewish holiday Hanukkah. That night, several worshippers showed up to Orthodox Rabbi Chaim Rottenberg's home in Monsey, New York. The home was located next to the synagogue, and it was also considered part of their place of worship. There were dozens of worshippers in the home that night celebrating the end of Shabbat and the seventh night of Hanukkah by lighting candles and reciting prayers. Because the members of this specific synagogue were Hasidic, they were easily recognizable by their distinctive clothing, hats, and prayer belts. While celebrations were underway, 37-year-old Grafton Thomas left his home in Greenwood Lake, New York. He was armed with a machete, and he was about to drive 20 miles to the home of Rabbi Rottenberg. At approximately 9:52 p.m., Thomas entered the home with his face covered with a scarf and brandishing a knife and a machete. The words he spoke were in part, quote, "No one is leaving." Then, without warning, he started and people. 5 of his victims were critically injured and hospitalized. Injuries that included a severed finger, slash wounds, and deep lacerations. At least one of his victims was hospitalized in critical condition with a skull fracture. 72-year-old Joseph Newman would later die from his injuries. Victims hit Thomas with furniture in the home because that was the only thing that they had to protect themselves.
His only weapon, the furniture around him, now in shambles.
I picked it up from the back and I punched it in his face. He was 3 feet away from me. I hit him in his face, and he started coming after me out to it.
When Thomas was done with his attack, he stumbled out of the rabbi's home full of blood, and he attempted to enter the synagogue, but thankfully the door was locked. And it's believed that he did this in an attempt to find more victims. He then jumped back into his car and drove off. One victim attempted to chase after him, but obviously it was no use because he was in a car and the victim was on foot. But fortunately, he was able to get the license plate number of the car that Thomas was driving. And police would end up finding and apprehending him shortly after in Harlem, New York. After his arrest, police confiscated the machete and the knife, both with blood on them, and Thomas's cell phone.
Mr. Thomas, you did silent. Mr. Thomas, why did you do it? Do you have anything to say for yourself?
Are you angry?
Innocent. Mr. Thomas, why did I say any message you like? You're recently good, Thomas.
Do you feel any remorse?
Do you feel bad at all? Do you care? Do you care at all?
His jacket and hands were also covered in blood. A search of Thomas's cell phone shows that on November 9th, 2019, a search for "Why did Hitler hate the Jews?" was made. This search was also made on December 3rd, 7th, and 16th of 2019. On November 18th of 2019, a search for "German Jewish temples near me" was made. On December 18th, 2019, a search for Zionist temples in Elizabeth, New Jersey was made. On December 27th, 2019, a search for prominent companies founded by Jews in America was made. On December 18th, 2019, a search for New York City increases police presence in Jewish neighborhoods after possible anti-Semite attack. Here's what to know was made. During a search of the home, police found journals belonging to Grafton. The pages referenced Adolf Nazi culture, along with having drawings of the Star of David and swastikas. Before going forward, let me just tell you that I am so sorry if this is your religion and you have experienced this. You don't deserve this. And I'm so sorry that this has happened. This is happening in general. Nobody deserves this. And this is just the worst. Because these people were literally minding their own business and they were sought out. And it's bullshit. And it's not fair. And nobody deserves this. So I'm so sorry if you're a victim of this. In any way, shape, or form. Not to this extreme, but in general. I'm so sorry. After the attacks, Grafton's stepfather, Joe Kennedy, decided to speak out, saying that people need to know the truth from someone that knew Grafton very well. Kennedy was married to Grafton's mom, Kim, for 10 years. Kim is an immigrant from Guyana and a nurse. Because of her background in nursing, she loves to help people and she feels like she could fix everyone. And you can't fault her for that, right? Kennedy explains that Grafton is the main reason that his marriage to Kim failed. He goes on to say that Grafton believed he was a member of the Bloods and the Crips, which I don't even think you could flip-flop from different ones. Like, from my understanding, it's not like, you buy a pair of shoes, you don't like it, you return the shoes, and you get a different pair of shoes. It doesn't work like that. I don't think. I feel like once you're in it, you're in it. He spoke with Heavy.com and told them that Thomas was in the army but was medically discharged. He says that Thomas considered himself a Muslim, but he wasn't a practicing Muslim. He didn't pray 5 times a day or do dietary supplements, but he would go to the mosque to pray. He's always worked odd jobs, worked on a chicken farm, and he worked in a factory, but ultimately it fell on Kim and his shoulders to pay his rent and buy him his furniture. He believes that Grafton was schizophrenic, bipolar, and had depression. He said that Kim got him help and got him medications, but that he didn't always take his medications. Which you see that a lot. If that's true. He also claims that Grafton became violent with him on several occasions. And he says, looking back now, he feels extremely lucky that Thomas never killed him. He recalls one night when he was sleeping in his bed, he got that, when you get that funny feeling, like you feel like somebody's watching you? He got that feeling and it made him wake up. And he says when he did, Grafton was standing over him, staring at him. That's creepy. Freaking creepy. Once Grafton put his hands on Joe's young son. Not Grafton's son. I don't think he has kids. Grafton put his hands on Joe's son and bruised his son's rib cage. He claims that he never called police because he didn't want to upset Grafton's mother, who was his wife at the time. He goes on to say that even though they are far away from them now and he's happily married to somebody else, that his son is still traumatized by the events that took place. And he's still scared from it. He says that another detail that bothered him about Grafton was that he wouldn't talk or socialize. Like, he would literally just sit there and stare at people. It's just creepy. Right? I just feel like that's just creepy. I hate when people stare at me. I freaking hate it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I hate it. So I can't imagine if I had to deal with that all the time. Ugh, I don't like it. He strongly disagrees with statements that Grafton is a racist, that he is a terrorist, or that this was a crime. These statements were also made before the discovery of his journal and cell phone searches became public. So basically what they're saying is, yeah, he said that he doesn't believe that the two were linked, but then this was also before everything was made public. And once you know about the cell phone and the diaries, it sheds a new light. In truth, whether it was or wasn't, not that it doesn't matter, but ultimately what matters more is the details of what he did. Like, this was so awful and so horrific, and he literally sought these people out. He didn't know them. It wasn't like they were out on the streets. They were in their place of worship, doing their thing, minding their business. You sought them out, and that is bullshit. It is. Thomas was charged with second-degree murder and 6 counts of attempted murder. He was also charged with a 10-count federal indictment that accuses him of hate crimes and injuring 5 people while trying to kill them based on their religion, and obstructing free exercise of religion in an attempt to kill them. But as of January 2022, Thomas remains in a mental hospital as he has been found unfit to stand trial by 2 separate judges. So, will these families ever get justice? I don't know. But currently that's where he is. He hasn't gone through a trial. But if you guys are still here, thank you. I love you and appreciate you so very much. If you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. And until next time, stay safe out there.